You are tuned to the CWA Civil Rights Talk Show, an hour of power. Now, here's your host, Errol Minor.
Thank you so much, Linda J. Welcome back to Communication Workers of America, CWA, Human Rights Hour Power, a justice-filled hour of talk, solidarity, and worker power. You're tuned into KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you are on the go, you can take us with you on kyokradio.org. From those April showers, we see beautiful flowers, and it seems as April is continuing on over into May. It's almost summer. The days are getting longer, and we have more time to get outside and let our union voices be heard. Let our union voices ring in every district from Alaska to Maine, from Texas to Minnesota. Our union brothers, sisters, and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette have been outside for 588 days, 18 months striking, on the picket lines. And yet, while they are striking, they are still churning out the news with facts for you and me. Let's show our support to them by making sure we subscribe to unionprogress.com. That's unionprogress.com. Once you subscribe to this free publication, how about going over and donating to their strike fund? You can donate to their strike fund by going to cwa.org/PPG-donate. And I just heard someone shout, when we fight, we win. Our brothers and sisters and siblings at Maximus are still fighting for a fair contract. We ask that you continue to support the workers of Maximus and their families as well by going over to cwa.org/CCW Solidarity Fund. In 1972, William Bill Lucy became the highest ranking African American in the labor movement when he was elected Secretary of Treasury of AFSCME, the organization's second highest post. His main job was auditing and budgets, but he remained active in labor issues, from negotiations with government and corporations to strikes and marches, both for workers and for oppressed communities in general. In September of 1972, Lucy led a conference of 1,200 Black union members representing 37 different unions. A key topic was the 1972 presidential elections. The American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, AFL-CIO, had taken a neutral stance on the elections. The Black unionists believed this attitude would help re-elect Richard Nixon. Notes from the conference reprinted on the CBTU website stated, "We are concerned that the re-election of Richard Nixon will almost certainly result in 4 more years of favored treatment for the rich and powerful, continued unemployment, frozen wages, high prices, appointment of additional members of the U.S. Supreme Court who are conservative and insensitive to the rights of workers, minorities, and the poor, more repression and restriction of civil liberties, and the reversal of total neglect of civil rights." However, more infuriating to the Black unionists was their viewpoint had been ignored by the AFL-CIO leadership. The group decided to found the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, CBTU, to ensure African Americans a voice in labor. "We are in nobody's pocket, do not intend to get in anybody's pocket, and we are going to assume a position of full partners." The CBTU website quoted Lucy as saying at the organization's founding, "Forming CBTU was potentially tricky." The St. Louis Post-Dispatch noted, CBTU was indicating that a labor movement founded on unity and solidarity lacked both when it came to racial matters. Many observers predicted divisiveness and an early demise. Those observers underestimated Lucy and his colleagues. Lucy became the first president of CBTU, a post he held into 2005, and helped grow the group into a 13,000 plus member strong force in labor. Lucy was quoted as saying, "We've managed to evolve to a situation where we no longer pound on the door, but are participating in the development of policy." Lucy's work was not limited to the United States. In 1974, CBTU called for an economic boycott of the apartheid regime of South Africa. Apartheid was a political and social policy that deemed Blacks second-class citizens and institutionalized segregation. Lucy later founded the Free South Africa movement, a grassroots campaign that sparked widespread oppression to apartheid across the United States. After the release of Nelson Mandela, the South African leader who had been imprisoned by the apartheid government for 27 years, Lucy led a fundraising effort to bring Mandela on a United States tour. 4 years later, when South Africa had its first apartheid elections, Lucy went as a part of an AFL-CIO monitoring delegation. After 20 years of fighting apartheid, Lucy was present when Mandela was elected the first Black president of South Africa. Throughout the 1990s, Lucy continued to move through the upper ranks of international labor. In November of 1994, he was elected president of Public Services International, PSI, the world's largest union federation. The first African American to hold this position, Lucy oversaw 10 million members from over 100 nations. In 1995, the AFL-CIO appointed Lucy to its executive council, the federation's highest decision-making body. He also served as vice president for several of the AFL-CIO's departments, including the industrial union, maritime trades, and professional employees. In addition, Lucy served on the boards of directors of civic groups such as the African American Institute, Americans for Democratic Action, and the Center for Policy Alternatives. President Lucy has carved out his legacy without fanfare or ego. He marched with King, went to jail for Mandela's freedom, and rallied labor support for Obama's historic election. We are so blessed to claim this history maker, Mr. Labor himself. Please salute CBTU President Emeritus, William Bill Lucy. He just turned 90 years old last year on November 26, 2023. Up next, we're talking about Women's Health Week this morning. Good morning, Maikia.
Good morning, Errol, and good morning, KYOK Radio. How's everyone doing? So May is Women's Health Month, and we are smack dab in the middle of National Women's Health Week. This year, National Women's Health Week takes place May 12th through the 18th, and this observance aims to highlight women's health issues and priorities and encourage women of all ages to prioritize their physical, mental, and emotional well-being. National Women's Health Week is celebrated each year beginning on Mother's Day to encourage women and girls to make their health a priority. Women's health conditions often carry a stigma, but talking about them helps us feel more comfortable bringing them up. During National Women's Health Week, let's dispel myths and discuss facts to help prioritize and normalize women's health issues from reproductive health to puberty to menopause and beyond. This week, we're going to focus on the unique health challenges women face. Sex and/or gender differences and female-specific considerations may play a role in shaping the health status of women, such as heart disease, which is the #1 killer of women, breast cancer, stroke, osteoporosis, thyroid disease, anxiety, and autoimmune disease are also diseases that are more prevalent in women. Many autoimmune diseases are more prevalent because, well, actually, we don't know why. And that's why it's crucial to improve the health of women. Several female-specific factors are thought to contribute to the increased prevalence of these diseases amongst women, such as hormonal and physiological changes, the onset of puberty, pregnancy, and menopause. Those are all things that can increase the risk and/or severity of several health conditions. So we must empower women to make their health a top priority and help them understand what steps they can take to improve their health. You can participate, raise awareness, and make the most of this important week by scheduling a checkup. Use this week as a reminder to schedule or attend regular checkups, whether it's a general physical, a mammogram, or a reproductive health exam. Staying on top of your screenings is critical for early detection of potential health issues. Staying active. Regular physical activity is one of the most important things you can do for your health. It can help prevent several diseases, including heart disease, cancer, and stroke. Eating well. A balanced diet rich in fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains are essential for good health. Reduce your intake of processed foods, sugar, and saturated fats to boost overall health and energy. And that's one of those things I need to listen to, because baby, I gotta focus on my health. Next up is focusing on mental health. Mental health is as vital as physical health, and it's important to take time to relax and recharge. Consider activities like yoga, meditation, or just spending time on a hobby you love. Also, you can educate yourself on health issues affecting women. Take time to read up on issues like breast cancer, cervical cancer, mental health, and heart health. Understanding these can help you make informed decisions about your health. And preventative care importance. Preventative care is a key focus during Women's Health Week. It's about more than just avoiding illness. It's about keeping healthy, living longer, and being proactive about your health. This includes regular screenings for breast and cervical cancer, vaccinations that are more important for women, discussions about family planning and safe sex practices, comprehensive checks for cholesterol levels, blood pressure, and more. Women's Health Week is more than a 7-day observance. It's a reminder that women's health matters every day. By taking steps to improve your health, advocating for necessary health services, and educating yourself and others, you can make a lasting impact on your well-being and that of other women in your community. Let's use this week to celebrate health, spread awareness, and take actions towards a healthier future for all women. Thanks, Errol.
Thank you so much, Makia. So that means I've got to put these Oreo cookies down, right?
Absolutely.
Once again, we are confronted with another company grappling with inequitable pay scales and benefits. This morning on CWA Our Power Hour, we are joined by two guests who will shed light on the issues at the National Audubon Society. This morning, we have with us Lindsay Buckland and Roderick Leary. Good morning to you guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Lindsay,
Thanks for having us.
no, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us this morning. Lindsay, we're going to start with you. Will you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Lindsay Buckland. I work for the Seabird Institute. I'm the office coordinator there. Also part of the bargaining committee for the CWA Bird Union. And yeah, I just decided to join the bargaining committee because it was really kind of challenging to sit back during negotiations and watch management kind of treat us the way that they did, and just had to get in there.
All right, thank you so much. And Roderick, what about yourself?
Yeah, Roderick Leary here. I'm the data scientist for National Audubon Society. I've been at Audubon for just over 3 years, and I work a lot on studying like our members and, understanding where we can meet them. And similar to Lindsay, like I joined the bargaining committee because I just couldn't sit on the sidelines while these negotiations were going poorly. I felt like an urge to do my bit and help out with negotiations.
Well, thank you so much. And again, thank you guys for both being with us this morning. Now, we want to get right on into this because our listening audience is wanting to know already more about the National Audubon Society. Can either of you tell us where this is located, what state, what district that the National Audubon Society is located?
Yeah, the National Audubon Society is headquartered out of New York City, but we also have major offices in Washington, D.C. and in Oakland, California. However, we have about 55 centers and sanctuaries throughout the country.
All right. And there has been a report that has come out. There's been a pay equity study regarding the Audubon Society. And this new report reveals a lot about the inequities at the Audubon Society. What pay and benefit inequities are occurring at the Audubon Society?
Sure. One that is pretty easy to highlight, kind of jumps out to the top of the list, would be the inequity in maternity or paternity leave at Audubon. We have represented staff that get 2 weeks leave that's paid for by Audubon, and unrepresented staff is offered 6 weeks. And you have to exhaust all of your sick time in order to use that and then to be eligible for the FMLA balance as it pertains to your state. And then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, and then in terms of like the other inequities that are happening at Audubon, in our recent wage proposal or in our recent report that you were able to see, Audubon has a job family structure, and what this leads to is IT and accounting and those job families being paid more than our conservation job families. And conservation is like the bulk of what we do, but we see where conservation staff who have certain responsibilities make about $20,000 to $30,000 less at times than their IT and accounting counterparts with similar responsibilities.
Now, let me back up just a little bit, and I want to go back to Lindsay. Lindsay, I need you to clarify and confirm, because maybe I didn't clean my ears out this morning good enough, but I think you said something about the paternal-maternal leave. You only get about 2 weeks. Is that correct?
That is correct. Also, if your partner happens to be an employee of Audubon's, you have to split that time. So it's not just 2 weeks, potentially 1 week. In 1 week would go to your partner.
And
yeah.
what was that other part that you said about you get 2 weeks, but non-represented employees get 6 weeks?
Yeah, that's correct. I actually lived an instance of this last summer. I had 2 coworkers that had their partners were pregnant at the same time. One of them was represented staff, one was non-represented staff, and one person got 2 weeks, the other person got 6. And needless to say, the person who got 2 weeks is no longer with Audubon, so you can read between the lines there. But yeah, it's definitely unfair, and it's had an impact on our staff for sure.
I'm sure it has. And then let me ask one other question. I'm trying to build something here. What is the gender distribution and dynamics like at the Audubon?
Yeah, so I'd say like Audubon, our staff is primarily a female-oriented staff. And then, however, what we see on top of that and what we found from analysis is that our male staff members tend to make more than our female staff members substantially, despite female staff members making up a vast majority of the staff.
So again, the females make up the majority of the staff. You have men leading the way, maybe. So that automatically lets us know that the pay structure of the employees is lacking somewhere. So the question that I'm formulating in my mind, the questions arise from concern of the financial well-being of the employees and whether they are able to meet their basic needs. So I want to go in just a little bit closer and examine the wage and income levels within the organization and the potential impact on the employees' quality of life. So, Roger, would it be safe to say that the majority of Audubon's employees are underpaid?
Yeah, I would think it would be very safe to say the majority of Audubon's workers are underpaid compared to their peers. Like we have some of our staff members, some of our represented staff who have to like give blood to make ends meet. They have to work second jobs and other things of that nature.
And this almost sounds like another corporation that's around the world that many people shop at. And I'm going to just leave that right there. But how long has contract negotiations been ongoing with the Audubon?
Yeah, we are just over 2 years of negotiating with Audubon, and Elizabeth Gray, our fearless leader, has not joined us at the table a single time.
So you're telling me this has been going on for 2 years, contract negotiations ongoing, and not one time has the current CEO attempted to negotiate or settle this contract.
That is correct. I would argue to say she's done everything in her power not to come to the table.
So why is this? Why won't she come out of her office and talk about this?
I think she's afraid that her point of view isn't going to be broadly accepted. And so I think it's easier for her to kind of hide away. She doesn't want to hear an opinion different than her own. That's the sense I think that we're getting.
Okay. So one of the things that I noticed in the report was that many of the union workers wanted the Audubon to revamp their current pay structure. What steps have been taken to get Audubon to revamp their current pay structure?
Yeah, so in our proposals, the Bird Union, we propose a couple of changes to Audubon's current structure. The first is eliminating the three job family structure and moving us down to a single job family. That alone would eliminate like that 10, 20, $30,000 difference between employees who are taking on the same responsibilities, getting paid differently. The other thing that we propose is for Audubon to eliminate discretionary pay. Discretionary pay at Audubon has led to some people working at Audubon for like 10 to 15 years and not getting their first raise until about 2021 after the union had formed. And what we've proposed instead is for Audubon to move to yearly 4% cost of living raises.
Okay. And when we're talking about the pay inequities, when we're talking about the benefits, because I'm still stuck on 2 weeks and have to share between the partners when they work there, the couples when they work there. I'm still stuck on that. But is the National Audubon Society even bargaining in good faith?
I think they are meeting the legal definition of bargaining in good faith, but I don't think they're productively bargaining at the table. Like Lindsay mentioned, we've been at the bargaining table for over 2 years now, and we just feel like management is slow walking these negotiations. They're trying to tire our members out, they're trying to tire CWA out, and we just don't see an end over the horizon.
And I believe that even when we're talking about all of these inequities, there should be or would be a staff retention problem. Are you all having that issue at the Audubon as well?
Yeah, we definitely saw in our analysis during our inequity report that over 60% of Audubon's represented staff have been at Audubon for about 3 years or less. So that really, when you see a number that high in that short period of time, that really indicates a retention problem.
Okay.
I was also in a meeting yesterday where they reported 102 open jobs currently. So,
wow. And Lindsay, when we talk about jobs and families, can you tell us more about the conservation staff and the job classification? Because I believe you work in that department.
yeah, I mean, despite being in conservation and receiving the lowest amount of pay in the organization, it doesn't stop us from being the most, some of the most dedicated people to the cause. Folks are working out on research islands for 18-hour days. They're living out there. They're like pouring blood, sweat, and tears into what we're doing for no comp time. It's just really disgraceful the way that a conservation organization is treating its conservation staff.
As we come to the close of this segment and talking about the National Audubon Society, I want to ask you to give your final thoughts. What would you like to share with our listeners?
Sure. I mean, one thing I would like to share is I just heard last week that there are members of management that think we're too poor to strike. I just want to kind of stand up and say, we're not too poor to strike. We will stand together in solidarity, and we will come together to get this done if that's what it requires.
Okay, Roderick?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I want to share to your audience is that these negotiations are not going well. To Lindsay's point, like management is trying to find ways to starve us out. We've been doing this for over 2 years. We're not making progress. We're really far apart. Management is telling us they have very little movement left at the table. Nothing is more frustrating to me than when I hear a manager say, "Oh, I hear negotiations are going well, or you guys are almost done," because that couldn't be further from the truth.
All right. Now, I have one final question. I promise this will be my final question for you guys, because you all have really educated our listeners about the National Audubon Society and what is going on with them. We're looking at the CEO will not come out of the Eiffel Tower, if you will. They don't want to settle the contract, and it would appear that you want to make sure that you have happy workers, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. But my last question is, why are you all called the Bird Union?
Yeah, I can take that one, Lindsay. So, one of the decisions we made was to not have our union named after John James Audubon. For all the work that Audubon did in terms of documenting birds, he was a known racist. He was very racist even for his time, which is the mid 1800s. Like, here was someone who believed that African Americans had like smaller skulls, and therefore they were stupider, for lack of a better word. So we did not want our union named after that individual. We called on the organization to change their name as well. They declined. There was a report released last year in the New York Times that had some quotes from board members at the National Audubon Society saying that they didn't care how many slaves John James Audubon owned. It was a different century, and that they would stop giving money if the organization changed their name.
Wow. Now that's going to be an entirely different discussion. We've got to have you guys back. We want to thank you two for coming to be with us this morning on CWA Our Power Hour. Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, Roderick. You are tuned into KYOK 1140 AM 106.5. They're all new 106.5. Communication Workers of America, Human Rights, Our Power. Take us with you on kyokradio.org. Up next, we have, guess what, guys? The Union Buster of the Week. This morning, we have with us Miss Timia Wiley. Good morning, Timia, and welcome back.
Good morning, Errol. Thank you for having me back for another week and another edition of Union Buster of the Week.
We can't wait.
For years, Starbucks employees have faced persistent problems: short staffing and unpredictable scheduling, low wages, harassment, and more. Meanwhile, Starbucks executives have raked in record billion-dollar profits while touting a corporate social responsibility model. In August 2021, employees from different Starbucks stores in Buffalo, New York, banded together to advocate for real material changes in their workplace. They filed petitions to unionize, and they started what we all know as SBWU, which is Starbucks Workers United. The Elmwood store in Buffalo was the first store to win their union. So immediately after that, workers across the country were inspired to bring their own union campaigns, realizing that their workplace issues were happening everywhere. And it wasn't just them. So soon you saw hundreds of Starbucks stores voting to unionize, making SBWU one of the fastest organizing efforts in modern history. With a union contract comes improved benefits, wages, and working conditions that would be in writing and couldn't be reduced or changed without collectively bargaining with management and the workers. It took hundreds of employees, hundreds of hours to come together to develop a thoughtful and meeting collective bargaining proposal that would address the issues that they face. But the executives at Starbucks would have no part of hearing it. Starbucks employees are standing up for themselves, and we, along with other unions and grassroots organizations, have been standing with them. You don't have to be a part of a union to stand with them. So the next time you find yourself in a Starbucks, please take the time out to notice what's going on. If it seems like your service is a little bit slower, it may be because they just don't have the help. See how you can help them. Be kind. Be sure to ask questions. They'll be glad to have you on the picket line with them. In March of 2024, SBWU announced attempts to begin discussions on creating a foundational framework around bargaining and organizing. This is a huge step not only for their movement, but they recognized that it was a giant leap forward for all the undervalued, underrepresented workers in America. Because as we all know, workers everywhere are experiencing the same systematic problems: the short staffing, unpredictable scheduling, low wages, unaffordable health care, harassment, broken equipment, and unfair discipline. The National Labor Relations Board has recognized this and their struggle and is already taking steps to enforce the law on the behalf of the Starbucks workers. And we call on Starbucks executives to immediately halt all interference and intimidation. We want Starbucks to live up to what it claims to be. Simply, we're coming together to build a better Starbucks for all of us, where people can work with dignity at their workplace, and a place that they can go to work to be proud of. A union contract is the best path toward true partnership at Starbucks and for workers across the coffee industry and the restaurant industry. We want Starbucks executives to be held to an ethical code of conduct designed to safeguard the organizing process. This will allow employees at not yet union stores across the country to join SBWU quickly and freely without repercussions. So until Starbucks employees can secure fair election principles as a part of their contract with Starbucks, Starbucks is going to be our Union Buster of the Week. Thank you, Errol.
Tibia, we have got to get you a real bell or something. It has to be loud. What is that?
This is a union-made cowbell. Thank you.
Well, you need to put it closer to the microphone or something. Try it one more time, because
one more time for our Union Buster of the Week.
Okay, I heard one ding. Okay,
one ding. We are making progress.
Thank you so much, Tibia, for bringing about the Union Buster of the Week. Up next, we have Mr. Reginald Small. You're tuned into KYOK 1140 AM 106.5. Communication Workers of America, CWA, Human Rights, Our Power. And again, if you cannot stay by your radio, tune in into KYOKradio.org. Good morning, Reginald.
Good morning, Errol, and good morning, KYOK radio listeners. Errol, you mentioned something about Mayflowers and gentle showers, but it is a thunderous Thursday here in Dallas, Texas. But I do trust that the sun will shine after a while. I am and I remain Reginald Small, CWA Civil Rights and Equity Chairperson. And of course, we all know, you've heard me say it once and you'll probably hear me say it again. This is my favorite part of this program, spotlighting one of our very own. This morning, we are spotlighting Lisa D. Wright. She is Vice President of Local 32035, TNG, Washington Baltimore News Guild. She is the unit chair and lead steward of the Southern Poverty Law Center Union. Lisa works as a direct marketing and response associate for the Southern Poverty Law Center, a civil rights nonprofit headquartered in Montgomery, Alabama. She has served as a member of our organizing committee to form SPLC's first union. She is also a Minority Leadership Institute 2022 graduate and is the Human Rights and Equity Chairperson at her local. Good morning, Lisa Wright.
Good morning, Reginald. Good morning, Errol. Good morning.
We are glad to have you on our show this morning. And Lisa, I know that you are part of the CWA Fight for Pay Equity campaign, but could you tell us this morning what other kinds of activism are you a part of right now in your local?
So currently, other activism I'm also participating in as acting VP of our local. We have a newly formed Human Rights and Equity Committee. So I'm also chairing that committee. Right now, it's a very small committee, so we're just getting started. We've been doing some brainstorming and just getting off the ground.
Well, thank you. I'm always excited, Lisa, to hear anything about a Civil Rights and Equity Committee, as I am the chairperson of the CWA National Committee. So could you share with us some of the visions, since it's a new committee, some of your visions that you have for the committee this year?
So right now, due to the fact we're newly formed and we're just getting started, we've been doing some brainstorming. We're also we're starting with human rights and equity, but we also have plans on branching out when we get more defined goals in place for our committee. First form of business is us getting together as a committee. We're planning on also attending the Human Rights and Equity Convention in August in Houston. And go ahead.
No, I apologize. Of course, I get excited when you start talking about the convention in Houston. That is a big event that we are putting on August the 11th through the 14th. And I am so encouraged that you all are participating in that or plan to participate as a new committee.
Yes, we're excited also.
Great. And for radio listeners, that it will be in Houston, Texas, August 11th through the 14th at the Hilton of Americas. And you do not have to be a CWA union member to attend. All unions are invited. But back to the activism in your local, other than the plans for you to attend the committee, any other things that you want to highlight that you all are doing in your local outside of Human Rights Committee or otherwise?
So what we're working on is trying to find ways to better support our units. We started out as a very small local. We've been doing a lot of organizing. We know workers are organizing all over the country, forming brand new unions and are organizing. Our local is up to over 70 units now. So what we're focusing on as a local EC is supporting not only our existing units and our existing workers, but also assisting new units on getting their workplaces organized, getting them through card signing campaigns, but also helping them get their first contracts in place. Because a lot of us have never, I know my personal experience, before our union got started, I had never been in a union before or never knew anyone in a union. So as a brand new person to the union world, I have been an advocate, a strong advocate, and believe everyone deserves a union. If you work, you deserve a union. And I have done everything I can to talk to everybody who I know about starting a union and being an activist and a leader and helping others start their unions. So as a local, we've been working on building more capacity for our local units and also more capacity for our new units. So that's what we'll be working on trying to build stronger contract language to kind of help. Because we know, just like we heard from the unit that just got to talking to this committee, managers and organizations are dragging out contract negotiations for 2 years. That's way too long. We need to work on, as workers, on how to build capacity in the CIS units and getting past union busting campaigns with management, and how to build those out to get those first contracts in place faster to not wear out our committees.
It seems that you're certainly on the right track, Lisa. I mean, organize, organize, organize. I mean, there is a new energy, a new spirit of wind that has been blown into unions here in the last few years. And I believe there's a survey that I recently noticed that people under 40, there are 70% of them are interested in this recent survey, are interested in being union members. So that is very, very good. It seems like you have the components of the triangle, organizing, legislative, and representation. And I like to imagine that in the middle of that triangle, there's committee work, human rights, and all of that in the middle of that triangle. And you seem to have it all together. Lisa, it has been my extreme honor and privilege to actually spotlight and highlight you today and your work. I ask that you continue the good fight in this movement. And thank you for coming on the show with us. And we look forward to seeing you August 11th through August 14th in the great city of Houston, Texas at the CWA Human Rights Conference. Thank you so much. And back to you, Errol.
Thank you so much, Reginald, for spotlighting one of our very own, Miss Lisa Wright. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being with us this morning. You're listening to CWA Hour Power on KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you at kyokradio.org. Up next, we have Damini Melvin, CBTU Under 40 Chair. Good morning, Damini.
Good morning. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us this morning. Let me introduce Damini to our listening audience. Damini is a member of CWA Local 6400 Missouri State Workers Union. He served as Secretary-Treasurer 2 terms and as chair of the Civil Rights and Equity for his local. Damini has organized and participated in many CWA and community campaigns and sponsored events. CWA members in Missouri and Damini were the first union on the front lines during the Ferguson uprisings after the murder of Michael Brown Jr. by local law enforcement. Damini spoke on behalf of his CWA local at an AFL-CIO convening around how labor can play an active role in the Black Lives Matter movement. A collective effort of labor and community activists led to a much needed change in how labor responded to issues that are sensitive to Black communities, as well as the criminal justice reform in St. Louis. Outside of many CWA trainings, representations, bargaining sessions, and political and community campaigns, Damini proudly coins the first labor-sponsored Juneteenth parade and community cleanups in St. Louis City. The mobilization and organizing skills Damini acquired over the years are direct results of utilizing the CWA triangle in all of his movement work. This includes mobilization and organizing strategies that are developed as chair of the CBTU International Under 40 Leaders Community. Under his CBTU Under 40 Leaders hat, Damini organizes young union members across all unions and building trades in the United States, Canada, and Nigeria. The goal is to create a future for young trade unionists who will continuously work together to advance the labor movement while also providing support and resources for one another. Damini is a 10-year member of CWA, CBTU, and APRI. Again, good morning, Mr. Melvin. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Richmond, Virginia, by way Charles City. I am first generation union. I will say that I didn't learn about unions until I moved to St. Louis, which is where I joined CWA as a state worker. I started as a state worker as a temporary employee, contract employee, and then I became full-time as an eligibility specialist. administering food stamps, childcare, Medicaid, cash assistance to all the families in need in Missouri, more specifically St. Louis City and St. Louis County. Then eventually I became a correspondence information specialist, which basically handling all social service cases that the citizens had or clients had issues with. So we had to be able to fix a case from beginning to end as a state worker for social services. And once I became a full-time employee, uh, day one, I was a CWA member. So I'm proud to say that. And like you said as you was introducing me, shortly after I became full-time was the murder of Mike Brown. And like I said, our union was the only union out there supporting Mike Brown's mom, who was also a union member also. So, and that started my movement work. And ever since, I just hit the ground running.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, let's get right on into it. CBTU is coming up. And for those that don't know what CBTU is, it is the Coalition Black Trade Unionists. All right. So can you give us a few details and outline what participants can expect from the upcoming event?
Yes. So starting May the 22nd until the 26th, we'll be hosting our 53rd CBTU convention in Houston, Texas. It will be action-packed. I will say anything that you're interested in is somewhere for you in CBTU. From building and construction trades, we have the Carrot team who focuses on environmental justice. They have a conference. We have retirees. We have the women's committee who hosts a luncheon. We have also the men's committee who's hosting their second annual breakfast. We're planning on having also hip hop. So this convention is really focused around the 2024 elections, making sure that we continue building power around the and getting out to vote. So all of the workshops and most of the panel discussions at town halls will be focused on the 2024 elections. There's going to be a hip hop and politics town hall. So that's something to look forward to. I'll also, it'll be something around deep canvassing. For those who know what canvassing is, deep canvassing is basically, is more listening than talking, which is what we do most of the time when we go canvass. And just getting to know the people in the community that we're going to talk to instead of just pushing issues on them and telling them how to vote.
All right.
So yeah.
So now, you already have set the stage for this next question. There are many classes offered at CBTU. My question is, will you be teaching a class this year? We don't want to miss out on one of our own teaching this year as we did last year because someone didn't let us know. So will you be teaching this year?
So to answer your question, so I help organize also with members of the Under 40 committee. We plan all the events for the younger union members and people who this might be their first time at the convention, just give them some direction while they're at the convention. So we definitely want to ask people to tune in to all the Under 40 leaders events that we're hosting. We'll be doing a community service project which we revamped at the convention 4 years ago. We'll be donating to the Houston Food Bank in collaboration. Also, we'll be, like I say, having a deep canvas workshop. We have 50-50 raffles where we always give away the most money, so please support that. Like I said, as far as most of the town halls and everything will be focused around the 2024 elections. This year's theme is Hate Cannot Erase Us. And so everything will be focused on that theme, and definitely making sure that we get out to vote this year, especially with across the country, mostly Black communities are really not getting out there to vote. So we're trying to change that this year. And with the younger people being the most voting strength right now in America, we definitely trying to make a huge impact this year as we did the last election.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And as I remember at last year's CBTU conference, and you and I talked about it extensively with the CBTU under 40 leaders, and I even got an opportunity to hang around for the roundtable discussion. And I'm telling you, it was awesome. So thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing. And for the CBTU under 40 leaders, please go and check him out, because as you already can hear, it's happening in his voice. He's already excited about hip hop. He's under 40 leader, and he's definitely going to grab your attention. And we thank you so much, Damini, for being so passionate about this committee. Stick and stay, and don't you dare go away. Up next, we have our Power Trivia. And Damini is here with us this morning, and he's going to take part in this Our Power Trivia with Mr. Reginald Small. And let's see what Reginald can do this week.
All right. All right, y'all. It's time for Our Power Trivia now. Reginald, we gave you a couple weeks break, so hopefully you studied up. All right, so here's how it goes.
Play fair. Play fair.
We're going to ask you a series of 5 questions. Whoever gets 3 out of the 5 questions correct the first will win. Your name is your buzzer. So after I read the question, you say your name. You have the opportunity to answer the question. Answer the question correctly, you get the point. You answer it incorrectly, then your challenger has a chance to steal that point. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. First question. When was Mental Health Awareness Month first recognized?
Reginald.
Okay, Reginald, coming in strong. Come on.
That one's easy. That's the year my mother was born, who is also a mental health professional, 1949.
All right, 1949, that's correct. And thanks, Mom, for all the work that you do. Second question, who was the Union Buster of the Week 2 weeks ago?
Reginald.
Okay, Reginald. All right, come on, Damini, but go ahead, Reginald.
Under 40 don't have no speed. I think the answer is 2 weeks ago, Amazon.
Amazon's correct. All right, that's 2 for Reginald, 0 for Damini, the under 40 leader who's slow on the buzzer. Next question. When did the month of May become AAPI Heritage Month?
Damini,
go ahead.
1972.
Nope, that's wrong.
Reginald coming in for the steal, if I may.
All right, Reginald for the steal and the win if you get it.
1992.
That's right. Reggie finally, y'all. Listen, Reggie finally got a win, y'all. All right, thank you so much for playing Our Power Trivia. Until next time.
Are we going to talk about the gift?
We're going to go by the $1.25 store and pick you up a little something, okay? Thank you so much. Between these bills and these gifts, I just don't know what to do. As we come down to the final minutes of the show, our union brothers and sisters and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette have been outside for 18 months on the picket lines. And yet while they're striking, they're still churning out the news with facts for you and me. Let's show our support to them by making sure we subscribe to unionprogress.com. Once you subscribe to this free publication, how about going over and donating to their strike fund? You may donate at cwa.org/ppg-donate. And I just heard someone shout, "We are one." That's right, we are one. Our brothers, sisters, and siblings at Maximus are still fighting for a contract. And since you're in a giving spirit, because it is better to give than receive, Journey on over to cwa.org/CCW Solidarity Fund and donate and help out the workers and families of Maximus. We're vastly approaching the CWA National Human Rights Conference from August 11th through 14th in beautiful Houston, Texas. We hope that you have already made your plans to attend, and if not, there is still time. Make your reservations today. Houston, we're coming to Houston, so we expect to see you there at Houston Americas. We thank all of our guests once again for being in studio with us. Roderick Leary and Lindsay Buckland from the National Audubon Society. And if you want to hear any of their testimonies or read their testimonies, you may go over to cwa-union.org/Audubon Pay Inequity and read their testimonies. We also want to thank our other guests, Lisa Wright and Damini Melvin, for taking time out of their schedule to be with us this morning. An hour is not long enough to be with you, and a week is too long to be away from you. You have been tuned into the CWA Human Rights Justice Our Power broadcast. I hope something you heard today has inspired you to take action toward creating positive change in the world. Every person has the power to make a difference, no matter how small. And by working together, we can create a world where human rights are respected and valued. So I encourage each of you in the listening audience to reflect on your role in promoting rights to effect change in your communities and beyond. Know that you are not alone in your quest for a more just and equitable world. When faced with injustice, it can be easy to lose hope and give up. But remember, justice may be slow like the truth, but when it finally comes, it will stand. Until next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, right here on KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. And remember, KYOKradio.org. Be blessed. See you next week.